Shots on Target with your host, BradBetsFooty, your go-to show for global football analysis and betting. Today is February 11th. Before we get into everything, I want to introduce my co-host, the Prince of Picks, at Prince of Picks 10 on Twitter and X, or on X, excuse me, and TikTok. But before we get into anything, 10 on Twitter and X. Let's get that off. Here we go. Gotta pause that. Sorry. Here we go. Live bet alert. Live bet alert. Prince, drop us in, brother.
All right, let's get to it right away, guys. We got an AFC Asian Champions League 2 match. It's literally kicking off right now as we speak. It's between Al Hussein from Jordan taking on Sharjah Cultural Club from the UAE. We're looking at BTTS here. BTTS has hit in 9 out of the last 10 for Al Hussein. They've also allowed a goal in 11 straight matches. Meanwhile, on the other side here for Sharjah, BTTS has hit in 5 straight Champions League matches for Sharjah Cultural Club. I think we see goals in this one. We're going to look at BTTS here on a live bet. Started off at about -20. You should be able to get better odds now with it being live.
Love that. And do you have a book that has that specifically?
Yeah, so that one for me here in Illinois, we got it on Caesars Sportsbook. That was the only book I could find it on. So check your state and your local, sportsbook to see where you can find it.
Awesome. Love that. Good luck for everybody on that one. I don't have, unfortunately, below just the regular Champions League, AFC Champions League. So I've been looking for that this morning, unfortunately. But it's Champions League Day, baby. Champions League Tuesday, and it's knockout stage. It's not even just the group play. We are now elevated with the best of the best. These teams are going to play 2 legs, leg 1 and leg 2, home and away. And the winner of those 2 legs on aggregate is going to be the team that pushes forward to meet the top 8, which have already qualified. So that's what you need to know is this is going to be a 2-legged affair today for the UCL. And without further ado, I'm going to drop into all 4 matches today. I'm going to discuss everything in depth. I'm going to do one by one. Prince is going to go back and forth and give us some picks for today as well in some of these lower English leagues. And I'm going to have my pick at the end, but pay attention because there's a lot of moving parts today, specifically with this first match. I'm going to highlight the early match, Brest and PSG. Brest right now come in scoring in 24 of 30. That's really solid, and conceding in 20 of 23. They are a really good side to back on the goal front. They play nice and open, nice counter-attacking football. They've actually conceded 3 goals in the UCL to Barca and Real Madrid. So top talent, really solid squads offensively. They have found that they are a little bit overmatched and conceding quite frequently. They've hit both teams to score in 7 of their last 10 home matches. They've hit over 2.5, 5 straight home, but 13 of their last 19 overall. So you do see them regularly hit that total goal mark. And with both teams to score hits with Brest, 7 really, really solid. 2+ in 11 to 14. So they tend to hit their over team total. And they've hit 2+ goals in 15 of the last 16 versus Brest. So when they play Brest, they are in the French league. For those unfamiliar, these are familiar foes that have played already twice this season. They've hit 2+ goals for PSG in 15 of their last 16 versus Brest. They have 2+ goals in 9 straight away matches versus Brest. So when they go away from home against Brest, there's no problem there. They've conceded now, PSG, in 36 of 47, which is 76%. 3 out of every 4 matches for PSG, they are conceding. That is pretty strong evidence that there could be goals, but both teams to score now has come in 11 to 13 for PSG as well. They tend to hit that over. And when these 2 teams play one another, specifically in 6 straight have hit both teams to score. 6 straight have hit over 2.5, including 13 of the last 16 when they play one another. And in 5 straight, they've hit over 3.5. So there are goals flying in nonstop in this matchup. I absolutely love goals in this match. However, just before I came on here, I've been wondering why the line is trickling down just a little bit over the last 24 hours. Very, very confused. Very confused. Well, I looked this morning, find some information from Euro Today. They have announced that this match is not going to be played at Brest home stadium. It's actually going to be played in the Division 2 side Queen Camp. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but due to field conditions, Brest are not meeting the field conditions required for UEFA. So this match is moved. And if you go look at my X right now, I've reposted a video from that field. And what you're seeing is a lot of those holes all over the sides, corners of the field. It looked like they were aerating it at some point. So I don't know if that is the field that they were on or if it's the field that they're playing on now. So what you need to know is this is a little bit scary. So maybe if you're looking at this match, I was actually looking at this match pretty intently, but I've put it on the back burner. When you have field conditions like this that are messing things up, you need to make sure that things are happening live like you expect. So we will definitely be looking at this match live today, but because of the field conditions, we're not doing anything pre-match. What do you got for us, Brandon?
Yeah, I love it. Never want to fade breast, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I think it could be some opportunity for goals in this one. Some people in the comments here are saying the audio's cutting in and out, so I don't know, guys. Hopefully, it fixes itself. Maybe Brad can do something. I'm not sure, but in any case,
Hmm.
we're gonna keep pushing on here. So we got a English FA Cup here. I'm gonna leave the Champions League to Brad here. So we're gonna cover England lower league. We're still in the FA Cup here. We got another matchup here, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff, where Exeter City are going to be hosting Nottingham Forest. Forest, of course, the heavy favorites here, one of the top teams in the EPL. But some interesting details here. They should be focused on the EPL table here. I believe Forest is probably more important to them. But this is an opportunity to get hardware. So we may or may not see a rotated line, but I haven't seen any updates officially myself here in terms of what lineup they're going to put out there. But in any case, three straight for Forest and 11 out of the last 17 has hit over 2.5 goals here. So we have seen goals in Forest games recently. Exeter, 16 out of their last 24 has also hit over 2.5 goals. Now, of course, you are talking different levels of play here, but in any case, the trends are there. But more importantly, Exeter have scored at home in 24 of their last 27 matches. Meanwhile, Forest have conceded away from home in 25 out of 33 matches. So you have an Exeter side trending scoring at home. You have a Forest side trending allowing goals on the road here. Not knowing what kind of lineup we're going to get with Forest here, I think Exeter is a team that could definitely get on the board here. I do think we see goals, but I like BTTS and over 2.5 here at plus 115. I mean, we could see a blowout, maybe 3-1-4, 1-for-4. It's just always possible. But considering the trends here, Exeter is kind of a BTTS machine in the league in general. So I do think there's a really good opportunity to see goals here. BTTS was just a little bit too juiced for myself, and over 2.5 was as well. So combining them together was a better play for me. So if you want to go BTTS or over 2.5, I don't hate it. I'm going to combine them both at plus 115.
All right. So it does sound like we're still cutting in and out. We're going to just push through. And then if I come back and I listen and I hear some issues, I'll just go live on X and I'll regurgitate some of this content for you all because this is really, really important for today. Unfortunately, it sounds like we're having audio issues, but hopefully we will push through that. Exeter, 15 straight they've conceded. So you do expect that they're going to be able to concede to that top flight Forest. So that is a very interesting match. I did take a look at that, but I'm not an FA Cup bettor. I find it to be a bit unreliable on my end. I don't necessarily know that what I'm providing is an accurate display of what is happening in the FA Cup. So I'm kind of staying away from that. Next match I'm going to highlight is Juventus and PSG. Another great match on the slate today that kind of looks like there's goals, but there's some trickiness in this. Juventus come in, they're huge on the BTDS front because they've been hit and they've been tying so much lately. But they just, before we drop into these stats, they just added Randall Colomuani. So they're going to be a little bit better in the attack than they have been. He has found a lot of success lately. So this could actually make Juventus a little better. We don't necessarily know what Juventus we're going to see right now because they're so unpredictable. And it's been mostly with that offensive end. So Colomuani could be settling things. We need to take a look, see what that is. But they've scored in 23 of 28. They're solid. And they've conceded now in 12 of 16. 75% of their last 16 matches they've conceded. Both teams are scoring 11 and 16. Not bad for an Italian squad. And over 2.5, 8 of 13. Really not bad numbers. But PSV, I've been tailing PSV for a long time, been talking about PSV for a long time. It's their goal scoring form, but more about their system. They play a nice open brand of football. They would rather attack you than defend you, which is very important if you're looking for goals. It leads to advantageous positions, pushing wide through the middle and crossing. So that is something you want to notate whenever PSV are playing, especially in their domestic league as well. But PSV have scored now in 44 of 46 matches. That is regular production. They've now scored in 17 of 20 when they're in Europe, which is pretty solid numbers. I mean, this is top European talent that they typically play in. So against, so 17 of 20, great numbers. They've now scored 2+ goals in 29 of their last 36. So it's not just one that they tend to put in, it's multiple. They've conceded really frequently. 18 of their last 20 in Europe. 18 of 20 matches they've conceded. So 17 of 20 they've scored in Europe, 18 of 20 they've conceded in Europe. Now, and they've also conceded in 14 of their last 16 away matches and 27 of the last 36 overall. That's 75, around 75%. So those are really, really good figures. They've hit both teams to score in 8 and 9 coming in. They've hit over 2.5 and 28 of 36. They regularly are hitting that over. It's insane. It's the play style I've talked about constantly. However, they've only won one of their last 5 away matches coming into today. And 3 of those 5 teams, it's PEC Zwolle, which is one of the worst teams in the Netherlands top flight. Heerenveen, butchered that one. Not a great team in the Eredivisie as well over in the Netherlands. And Brest, they lost to Brest in their last 3 of their last 5. So they've only won one. It's really not trending well for PSV lately. They actually have played, shockingly enough, they played in the first, I think it was the first match or the most recent one that they played. It was in 2024. This match finished 3-1 with Juventus at home to PSV. An absolute dominant performance to Juventus. If you look at those numbers, they were an all-out dominant. Like just from top to bottom, they had a full 3 EXG, and they only gave up a goal in like the last minute. So they were dominating throughout, and then they kind of relaxed a little bit and let PSV into the net. So that is what you should know is Juventus, even without Colomboani, absolutely truck sticked PSV last time out. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see that exact same type of scenario, but if you've seen that already at home this season, it's possible we have a repeat of that performance. Um, so like it was, yeah, played round one. So it was round one of the UCL. So it is this season in this season's UCL. So be mindful of that. We're going to also look to attack that live because there's just a lot of uncertainty with how PSV, sorry, with Juventus, how Juventus are going to be attacking. We want to see them getting deep. We want to see them actually pushing forward. And I'll kind of explain a little bit more after I highlight all these matches. I've taken a look at the last 2 years of knockout stages. We have some very, very important information to share, and I'll share that after I talk about each individual match. But that's the second one I'm looking at live. Not sure if I'm going to attack it, but those are things you need to know. It does look really great. Maybe a Juventus win, maybe the both teams to score over 2.5, maybe even the over 3.5, maybe Colomboani scores, but we want to look live to see if this team is actually attacking the way that we expect them to and need them to. So next, you are going to head over into England again.
Yeah, just to touch on that real quick. I mean, PSV is obviously a BTTS machine. The real question is Juventus for sure here. They have improved slightly offensively over the last several weeks here, but still they are very much a question mark. So I'm with you on that. But yeah, definitely more of a live bet for me as well. We gotta see how it plays out in the beginning. Yeah. Next up, we're gonna go to the England Championship here. We got a 2:45 p.m. Eastern kick where Portsmouth are gonna be taking on Cardiff City. 3 of the last 5 head-to-head here has seen BTTS. 12 out of 18 has hit BTTS for Cardiff, and 16 out of 30 has hit BTTS for Portsmouth. So not quite what we want to see for Portsmouth. It's just a little above 50% here. But both teams here are near the relegation zone. I think both sides will need to push for a win here. I don't think a draw is really going to do either one any good here if they're trying to avoid relegation. Both teams here are averaging over a goal scored per game and nearly 2 goals conceded per game thus far this season. So I do think we see a great opportunity here to see a lot of goals again. I like BTTS at minus 125. I think that's a pretty good value considering the circumstances here with these two sides. If you were looking for a little bit better payout, an optional bet you could also do is BTTS no draw at plus 185. Again, I don't think a draw really suits either side here, with both of them kind of being buried towards the relegation zone. Both of them are really going to want to pick up 3 points to kind of distance themselves from that zone. So that pays out. That bet pays out more than BTTS over 2.5. So if you're looking for something that pays out more, do the BTTS no draw. That gives you a better payout than BTTS over 2.5. But officially, I'm just going to stick with BTTS here, minus 125.
Awesome. Portsmouth, they've only scored in 7 of their last 15 matches, but they were scoring a lot more prior, and they're at home. That should give them a leg up. Both teams are conceding quite frequently. We have Portsmouth conceding in 22 of their last 26, and Cardiff. They've scored in 20 of 26, which is really solid for a championship squad. And they've conceded now in 26 of 32. So they're regular conceders. If you're looking for a team that Portsmouth can score against, it probably would be Cardiff, especially at home. I really like that look. They've also hit both teams to score in 3 of their last 5 matchups. So that is an interesting tip. And they have hit that over 2.5 in 3 of 4 as well. So you have seen a lot of goals. I like that look today, Prince. And then also just to notate the championship in general, over the last 41 matches, both teams that score and over 2.5 are hitting at the same rate, 25 and 16, which is 61%. So 6 out of every 10 matches are hitting that over. It is much better than it was trending a couple months ago. I'm going to highlight now the third match between two teams with new managers over the last few period of time. You've got Sporting out of Portugal, and you've got Dortmund out of Germany. Sporting, insane, one of the insane regular scorers in Europe. One of the, I mean, it's hard to find a record as good as this, but Sporting have scored now in 61 of their last 63 matches. 61 of 63. That is 97%. They've also scored in 12 straight European matches. 2 of those that they didn't score were actually more frequently going through this managerial change. Like I mentioned, their old manager of Sporting is now over at Manchester United. For those that are not familiar, taken over, not doing really well, but he was great with Sporting and their system. Since the new manager has come in from, I believe it's Vitória Guimarães, they have taken a little bit of a different approach. They're not as gung ho, not as fluid as they used to be with their attacking end. They are now more of a sit in deep and counterattack team. So that is something that we want to watch. They're playing Dortmund, who kind of does the same type of play style, except Dortmund does it from a very open perspective. When they get offensively, they spread out wide. When they get defensively, they get compact again. They now have a managerial change as well. Nuri Sahin, gone. Few matches. They've looked a little bit better, but you know, you need to know when you change managers, everything changes. Your play style, the personnel, just the way you attack things, the end product, everything is changed. So you got to take it a step at a time, each individual match. But Sporting also, they've conceded now in 17 of 22 regular conceders. When they're in Europe, they've also conceded in 10 of 12. These are really great numbers. Both teams have scored in 10 of 12 in Europe and 15 of 22 overall. Over 2.5 now, and only 8 of 16 in Europe, and only 4 of the last 11. So, what we said before to the end was they're trending great in the BTTS, but not trending as well in the over 2.5. And that is a little cause for concern, even though that in 43 of their last 51 matches that have hit over 2.5 or over that have hit both teams to score have hit over 2.5. So 43 of 51. It's just not trending that over lately. And once we get into the knockout stage analyzation, you'll understand why I'm hesitant on this. But Dortmund, they've scored now in 26 of 28 regular scores. They've conceded in 13 straight in 30 of their last 37 regular conceded. I mean, 13 straight. And since the new managers come in, they're still conceding regularly. They're now away from home. They typically concede more away from home as well. They've hit both teams to score in 12 of 13 and 4 of 6 in Europe. And those 2 that they didn't hit both teams to score were Zagreb and Sturm Graz. So not necessarily great opponents. And those teams were the ones that didn't score. So Dortmund was there. They got their numbers. They just didn't concede because those teams aren't that great. And then over 2.5 is hit in 22 of 28 and 7 of 8 UCL matches. So Dortmund trending that over like crazy, trending the BTTS like crazy. Sporting trending the BTTS like crazy, but not trending the over like crazy. And this match, about minus 160, is that both teams to score. It does kind of look like that should happen, but we don't know. The way Sporting looked the last couple times out, just a bit sketchy. Yes, they have a good chance with Victor Gyökeres, but he isn't everything. He has to be fed the ball and put into advantageous positions. So we have to see what Sporting are we going to see today. Not hitting that over, not playing well against some of their domestic foes. Now they're taking on a top German side. Yeah, I imagine that Dortmund is going to come here to limit risk, try not to lose this first leg. So, I mean, you could even lose and then just win and then still be tied on aggregate. But most importantly, not being down on a goal, because that allows you to then just go at home and win by one goal and move on. I think that's the task at hand for Dortmund. So I necessarily wouldn't be surprised if we see a 1-1. And if one team is able to score two, wouldn't be surprised if we see 2-2. So it just kind of be a game flow type of scenario. I imagine the Lisbon coach or Sporting coach is going to also minimize risk and want to get to that second leg, even up against a German squad, and maybe even get to overtime in that second leg. I think that's what he's going to be about. But if they score early, that's probably perfect scenario to then try and back Dortmund for a goal. What do you have for us in England?
Yeah, real quick, is Sporting at home in that one?
They
Sporting's at
are.
right? Yeah, they're at home. So yeah, I love fading Dortmund on the road, especially conceding goals. So that's probably an angle that I'll look at personally. I just feel like traditionally they're historic this season anyway. They've really struggled on the road, so that's something I'm going to look at for sure. But before I get into my pick real quick, we just had a final score go final here, and a bet that we placed earlier on the VIPs. A Tractor Sazi from Iran. They beat Al Qadisiyah 2-1 from Bahrain. So shout out to the VIPs there, guys. We hit on that one. If any of you are interested in signing up, check my profile on X at PrincePix10. You guys can find the details on my pin post on my profile. But let's go ahead and get into this final pick here. We got England League One, 2:45 p.m. Eastern kickoff, where Birmingham City are going to be taking on Cambridge United. Birmingham comes to this one top of the table, undefeated in 25 out of 27 league matches. They've absolutely dominated League One this season, as expected. Meanwhile, Cambridge United here are the complete opposite, bottom of the table here, dead last in the 24th spot, winless in 17 out of their last 19. This is a team that is likely to get relegated to League Two. Birmingham throughout this season are averaging nearly two goals scored per game. Meanwhile, Cambridge here on the other side, they are allowing nearly 2 goals against per match. So far this season, Cambridge have also allowed a goal in 16 straight overall. So this is a Cambridge side that is leaking goals left and right. I think this is a smash spot for Birmingham here. Coming off of an inspirational game against Newcastle, where they really went toe to toe with one of the EPL giants, if you will, losing just 3-2 to them. But they have every right to win that game just as much as Newcastle did. You couldn't really tell there was that much of a gulf in talent, honestly. Watching the match myself, you couldn't see that much of a difference between the way that they played. I thought they played well. I thought they played great. And I think this is a really good spot for them to kind of, carry that momentum against a team that's just really, really struggling right now in League One. And especially with Birmingham being at home here in front of the home crowd, I think they're going to want to put it to this Cambridge team. I like Birmingham minus 1.25 here. I like that just in case we get a 1-goal win, we get a little bit of push protection on that. But I do think there's a good opportunity to see two-plus goal margin here for Birmingham. They have 12 clean sheets so far this season. Does Birmingham? So it has been pretty difficult to score on them, which is obviously nearly 50% of their league matches. So I could see like a 2-0 win here. I don't think Cambridge gets on the board here. And again, we have a little push protection if it's just a 1-goal win. So give me Birmingham minus 1.25 at minus 160.
I like that. Birmingham, we've actually talked about them a couple times on the show. Actually, they are a newly heavily invested squad, so they have some investors that have really pushed them into a better position as of late. They've now scored in 26 of 27, so they're regular scorers. They've conceded in 21 of 36, so not necessarily regular conceders, just over 50%. Which is something that you would like to see if you're trying to back somebody to win at home. Cambridge have scored in 16 of 21. That's actually not that bad, around 75%, but this is a Birmingham squad who's much better. And they've conceded Cambridge in 15 of 16 and 27 of 33. So they have been regularly letting that ball in the net. I like that look. I'm going to be tailing that with you. And also, English League One, over the last 32 matches, both teams' scores hit 20 and 12. So 20 of those 32. And the over 2.5 was only hitting 16 of 16. So 50% there. Some of these lower English leagues haven't been trending as well as they have in years past, but Some of them it's really fluctuating as far as when they score and when they don't score, almost week to week. You have to take each match week individually, which I do have in the Discord for anybody who is a Dub Club member. And lastly, I'm going to touch on my best bet for today. And I'm going to head to that last match versus Manchester City and Real Madrid. And this one is a loaded one. Man City come in scoring in 50 of 54, 2 plus in 9 of 10. They are a regular scorer, solid, one of the top uh, clubs in the entire world, one of the most heavily invested clubs in the entire world, just like the team that is on the opponent's end. But they've now conceded. Manchester City have now conceded in 34 of 43. That is really irregular almost for a Manchester City squad. That is just not trending well. Their play style with Pep, if they're not possessing the ball with intent and the ability to shift players around, it allows the other team to sit complacently, find their advantages, and push forward. So that's the difference with Manchester City this season and seasons last, is just the possession. It's the amount that they possess, the way that they possess, and the way that they tire out their opponents. They're not tiring out anybody this season because they're not playing with the same possessive intent. A lot of times they play through the middle, allow you to run around, go back, around the back, and then through the middle again without actually trying to go forward with the purpose of tiring you out, to lead you into a false sense of reality, complacency, and push those legs to be a little bit tired. And then that 1 second you relax, bang, they hit you. That's Manchester City of the past. Not necessarily that same Manchester City that we see this season. They're playing with a lot more attacking intent, getting that ball forward more, defense to offense more, bypassing the midfield because they don't have a strong midfield. Rodri being out, they're playing with Gundogan and a couple of the rotated. I don't even know who's going to be in the central of midfield today, which does, some cause for concern, especially when they're playing they're playing Real Madrid. So it does look like they should be conceding based on this record and based on what we see with their playing style. They've hit both teams to score in 16 of 23 and 13 of 18 in Europe. So Manchester City is hitting both teams to score that frequently in Europe, 13 of 18 against all competition. That's really surprising, to be quite honest. Over 2.5 now, coming in 15 of 18 in Europe. They hit that over, and not just in Europe, in their total competitions, 23 of the last 28, which is 82%. Over 4 out of every 5 matches for Manchester City are hitting that over 2.5. And when they hit both teams to score, 29 of 32 have hit over 2. So you tend to find more goals when both teams to score come. Now let's look at Real Madrid. They've scored in 36 of 40 regular. Both teams are top clubs in the world. You almost expect that type of offensive production. They've had 2+ goals in 13 of 16. They've had 3+ goals in 5 of their last 6. They are trending really well, playing nice and open because they don't really have much of a defense right now. Bit rotated, new names, some central midfielders pushing back into the defense, which is why you see Manchester City as such a favorite and has continued to shift that way. We have seen Real Madrid defensively just not be there lately. It's just not the same squad. Lucas Vasquez is out, which means they're going to have to play their second string right back. Benjamin Mendy is out, so we know that Fran Garcia is probably going to be in that left spot. I'm assuming, and he's a youngster, so that could be some concern. When you have these type of players in rotation, they're going to be facing off against Savio, maybe Grealish, not sure who's in the lineup, Haaland, Marmoush. These Foden, these are solid players that can take advantage of these players. So if they get isolated on those wings, I think they could have some success today. But Real Madrid, they've conceded now in 22 of 32. So they're also regular conceders above that 66% mark. Both teams are scoring 10 of 13 in Europe. So they're hitting their numbers as well. So both teams hitting their numbers over 2.5 in 85% of their last 26. So 85% of their last 26 for Real and 82% of the last 28 for Manchester City. We've seen goals flying in for both of these teams. And for Manchester City, both teams to score hits in 16 of 18, over 2.5 hits, except in the last 2 versus Atletico. Simeone ball, you just kind of expect that. So against everybody else, if both teams to score hits, they tend to hit that over. And these two teams have actually played one another a number of times over the last few years. They are regularly meeting each other in these European competitions. Both teams' scores come in 8 of 9. 8 of the last 9 times that these two have played one another, both teams' scores come in, and 7 of 9 over 2.5. So you tend to see goals in this matchup. You tend to see goals when either team plays in. We put them together. We're taking a nice, comfortable. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. That's at -155, just a slight bit of juice. But the over 3 is at -165. That's too much juice for trying to get that fourth goal. I believe that if goals are coming, it's going to come from both ends. If one team scores, it should then push the other one. And hopefully we can push to that over 2.5 based on what we've seen here.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think the way that this game plays out, I think both sides are going to kind of come out a little cautious, kind of feel each other out for maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then I think once that first goal goes in, I think all hell breaks loose. I think you're just going to see a wide open game. The team losing is going to try to score and vice versa. And it's just going to be back and forth. I love it. I'm definitely going to be telling. I think we see a ton of goals in this one.
I agree with you. I mean, that's the exact play style that you're hoping for. When one goal goes in, that's when this game gets pushed. Until that goal goes in, you might see a little bit of complacency. However, Manchester City, they can't take the risk at trying to go to Real
Right.
and pick up a win. That is, I mean, that's a catastrophic situation for City, which is also why you see them favored. There's a lot of people who are going to be betting on City's goals. I don't see why you wouldn't. I see people betting on Real Madrid goals. I don't see why you wouldn't. So for me, I like to put them right there, smack dab together, and hopefully we can get that both teams to score an over 2.5. That is a half unit play, always for cup betting, always, especially in leg one, always half unit betting for this type of fixture.
So,
Now, I took a look. I don't know. Is there anything before I take a high level analysis of the UCL, go back through the last 2 years, give you some cause for concern? Is there any other matches that you have that you're looking at you want to highlight? There is one that I have, but I can also mention that at the end.
no, no, not really. No, I think I've covered everything there is to cover. I mean, I'm tailing you on all the Champions League plays for sure. So, but no, nothing else for me.
All right, great. So I took a look 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 2024. The last 2 years in the knockout stage specifically, leg one, both teams to score came in last season 1-7 in leg one. The year before that came in at, I just lost my place, came in at 2-6 in leg one. So we don't necessarily always expect to see goals in leg one given the years past. It kind of surprised me. I would say, though, when you look at the teams that were in the knockout stages and some of the quality back and forth, I can kind of see a lot of these not hitting. However, these numbers kind of scare me a bit because I see goals in every single match today. Like, legitimately, every single match seems like they could have goals. But these last numbers, maybe we just get that complacent football that we've seen in the past. Over 2.5. Let's go to week 2 of last year. So we went 1-7 and 2-6. For next week, 4-4 and 4-4. So it improved a little bit, but not that great. And then it went 5-11 and 5-11 for both teams to score. So both teams to score isn't really trending that well in a lot of these matches. Over 2.5, a very similar situation. 1-7 and 1-7. You got over 2.5 at 5-3 in that second leg and 4-4 in that second leg, which does mean that the goals have kicked up. You can see right there from leg one to leg two, goals have kicked up. And then you get to leg three, 4-12, or sorry, 6-10 and 4-12. So, like not leg three, but the third round. So these are very difficult matches to predict, right? So if one team scores, it will push the other team. But if one team doesn't score, it could just keep it low, just solely game flow. These are different. It's not like playing in a league match, it's not like playing backyard football. Like, this is some of the most highly intellectual football that you're going to see. Tactical brilliance on the end of the managers. Halfway through the game, shut down. Game styles will change. So you just need to be very mindful of all these numbers. And I think that these are the type of matches you want to attack live. City was one of the teams last season that hit their numbers even in leg one and leg two. So that is a reason that I am attacking them as well today. So not only are they trending well, but they have hit their numbers in the past, even in the face of adversity when everybody else is not doing that. Real Madrid tend to be like that as well. They play to the level of their competition and they love to score, play some open football. That should be really interesting matches today. I mean, anything could happen, right? Theoretically, Brest PSG, the pitch is going to make a big difference. Sporting and Dortmund, the managers are going to be making a big difference. You have Real Madrid and Man City, the lack thereof of defenders for Madrid and lack thereof midfield for City is going to make the difference. And with Juventus and PSV, how are the attacking players going to make a difference for Juventus? That's going to be the decider. So for those four matches, keep that in mind. I might be looking to attack leg twos a lot more than leg ones based on all these numbers. Again, I got these numbers about an hour and a half prior to coming in here. And it really shot me down. It really settled my ego of thinking, hey, we should attack all these games because I mean, they look so good. I've analyzed all these stats. They look amazing, but scary, scary football. And before I go on any further, there's another great match. It's another qualifying type of match in the championship group of Wales, Caenarfon. Horrible at trying to pronounce that. Carnarfon. I mean, just don't even. They're playing TNS, the New Saints, one of the top clubs in Wales. Regular performers, but CAE, we'll just call them CAE, have scored in 38 of 43. Incredible numbers. Conceded in 17 of 21. Incredible. Over 2.5, 13 of 17. So they're trending well, and 15 of 19 on both teams to score. They hit their numbers frequently. TNS have been trending well lately as well. 26 of 29 they've scored, and 17 of their last 18 they've conceded for a top TNS squad. Who is the real pusher of Wales whenever they're playing? They're the ones who send that game into overdrive. They're conceding at 17 of 18. It looks like it's conducive for goals. BTTS at 15 of 20, over 2.5 and 19 of 21 league matches. And BTS has come in 6 straight that they've played one another, and 11 of 12 that they've played one another. So this fixture has brought about goals. However, TNS are at the top of the table, separated by a number of points. With this fixture being the latter stage of the league, there's possibility for complacency. I saw them last week. They didn't concede. They hit that over 3, but it was late, TNS specifically. So with this matchup, you're really betting on TNS. Like, if you want that over 3, which you can't even get right now, you can only get a 3.25, which is why it's not going to be a pre-match bet for me. I would rather have the over 3 because I'm comfortable that there's a possibility that TNS can cover that by themselves. And if CAE adds one, that's really just adding, a little bit of gasoline to that fire to hit the over. So if it comes down to a 3 pretty quickly, that's going to be a match that we might want to sprinkle. But over 3 or 3.25, 3.5, it's just too rich, not worth it for that match. Is there anything that you want to touch on before we get up out of here?
No, just real quick, as I'll definitely be looking at live bets for the Champions League, as I alluded to earlier. So those will be exclusive to the VIPs again. So again, if you guys are interested, check my profile for that. But yeah, other than that, I'm excited to see how these games play out. I think we got, like you said, I think the reason why the numbers are under, which is maybe an obvious reason, but a lot of teams they don't want to give up too much in that first leg, right? They look for the second leg as like their winner take all type of game, right? So I think that's why you see a lot of lower scoring, games, especially in 2 leg matchups. Is just both sides, whether you're home or away, you just don't want to get down into a hole and force yourself to play maybe a style that you're not conducive to playing in that second leg rather. So that could be something that contributes to the low scoring. Because you're right, even some of these high scoring, the stats look great and everything looks like, man, there should be tons of goals, and then out of nowhere you'll see like a 0-0 or a 1, like a late goal or something. You're like, what the hell happened, right? So I don't know, it's tricky. Like you said, definitely half unit plays, guys. And tread lightly on these, but let's see how it works out. Definitely live bets for me for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like try to have fun with it.
Yeah.
These are the sharpest lines. They're the most bet of all of them. You've got issues taking place, and then you'll have tactical decisions that the managers will make that they don't make in league play or any other type of fixture that they'll do specifically for the UCL. Because if you make those decisions on a regular basis, you're going to be unsuccessful, right? So if you constantly invite pressure, after a period of time, they're going to concede. However, if you do it on a game by game basis, that can be successful in round robin tournament style play. I would know I played on a Tennessee team. We would beat teams in Texas, teams that had much better talent on the surface, but because we played nice and deep and compact and we knew each other really well and we didn't overextend, we were able to sometimes get the better of them. And so if one team scores, expect another team to score. But if one team doesn't score, maybe the other team's not going to score. I know that's stupid advice. It sounds dumb, but man, it really is the best advice that you can be given in fixtures like this when there's knockout potential in it. Remember, these two teams got to play two legs, and then the winner goes to play the top 8 teams. So these teams are going to be battling like crazy to get there, but expect leg two to be that open fixture where people really push, not necessarily leg one. So we'll be looking again at live bets today, specifically midweek fixture. Let's be careful, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.